heavily. Hey, it's the Kingpin here at the Bacon Cartel live, and guess what? We have over here is Chef Christy. I definitely, all the time we've talked now, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I don't try to. Please, definitely.
Pretend there's no E in there. It's Christine Kaminsky.
Kaminsky. Okay, I was right. All right, cool. So
Yeah.
we have chef author Christine Kaminsky, which is fantastic because this is the first time I'm actually interviewing somebody who is an author. So we were talking behind the scenes, which has really been dope. I've really, in the last couple of times that we've been doing this, have some really great conversations. I wish I would have gone live because it was really fantastic, but I took a lot of the notes this time as well. So hopefully we can actually talk about what we were talking about earlier. So let me just talk a little bit about Chef. She has dedicated her life into clean cooking. She has maintained and she's performance weight goals is not attainable, but it's accomplished by while eating beautifully. She's the founder of her website, Christy's Kitchen, in 2018 after beginning a nutritional cleansing program that focused on clean eating. She stubbornly, because chefs are not stubbornly motherfuckers, refused to believe that taste, creativity, style needed to be sacrificed for health. And I'm really huge on that as well, so I congratulate you on that. Her cooking features clean and creative twists on savory, stylish, and rustic plates. Since then, her blogs and easy health gourmet recipes have quickly gained a loyal following on the website. She's on Facebook and Instagram, so you can definitely follow her on Instagram and Facebook. She's held an executive chef position and sous chef positions on a highly profile fine dining restaurants in New York City area. We're not going to talk about where, when, what, how. That's for a whole nother show. Chef Chrissy, as she's called, also has her own business. It's focused exclusively on clean meal prep, home and personal chef services. So if you need a chef and you want one in the New Jersey area or New York, definitely look her up. There we go. In her prior life, because she's born again, Chrissy moved actively using her Georgetown. Listen to this, kids. MD. Okay, MD. Georgetown MD and Seton Hall JD credentials as a medical and legal expert and emergency physician.
That's right.
Okay, emergency physician. Okay,
yeah.
And she's now for the lack of better term, you're a fucking chef.
Yeah, I'm a fucking chef.
So I guess to lead this whole conversation, what the fuck? How did you get from
I know.
I want to be I want to put on the white coat, which I know we talked about. I want to put on the white coat and I want to put on a different white coat with a hat called a toque and become a chef. What's with that?
Wow, well, that's a long story. I'll try to abbreviate it, but it basically comes down to I'm first generation American, so my parents are immigrants. They didn't want me to cook.
So wait. From where? I know Polish, definitely. Anytime you see
Polish
ski.
and Italian.
Okay.
Italian. And I always wanted to, I had a passion for it. And the irony, like we were talking about before, is, you're raised, especially as an Italian, Polish, Catholic, New Jersey girl, to take care of people by cooking for them. So my place in the kitchen. And then I found out, but not in this kitchen or that kitchen, they mean in the kitchen at home, right?
Right.
So because I was raised that way, I decided to do completely the opposite because not, right? We're rebellious by nature too. So I went to medical school, which is not really rebellious. It's kind of mainstream. And I had to suppress.
It's also a little Jewish. I just want to let you know, because I know you grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. It's a little Jewish going and being a doctor.
Well, it's a little also, I did grow up in a Jewish neighborhood. My mother grew up in the same house in the same neighborhood. And the Italian Catholics do guilt just as good as the Jews, right?
The only difference, I want to tell you, do you know the only difference between Jews and Italians?
What?
Jesus and pork. It's it. maybe a meatball and matzo ball too, and that's it.
Well, they were determined to have a freaking doctor in the family. So,
Right?
and I was, young. You're young, you're stupid, like my kids are right now, and they think they know everything. And I didn't know that getting into something so intense would literally mean committing like at least 10 years of my life. And that's when I was like, 22. What the hell what do you know when you're 22, 21,
Right.
22? I mean, I know there are people who are maybe watching this. There's no way to know what you're going to know when you're my age, when you're that age. So I think, well, all right, I'll give this a shot. I'll give it a try. It's not, but it's not something you half-ass. And so I was probably 30 and I was already done with medical school and my residency before I realized, like, Jesus, I hate this. Like I was good at it, and that was also a little bit of a problem. When you're really good at something, you get a lot of positive reinforcement, and people want you to keep doing it. And I don't think I grew the set, so to speak, that I needed to be able to, until I was maybe close to 40, to be able to look at my parents in the face and say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore.
But you're only like 41 right now, so let's go with that. We'll stop there. One of the things you made a comment to is tell me about medical school. What were some of the demands that medical school put on you?
Oh, Christ. Well, besides financial, which I'm still paying off. I was and this was 1989 when I applied to medical school. So it was 1990 when I started. And you think it doesn't sound like all that long ago, but in terms of like my generation, and I'm actually 51, so Generation X, my kids would be absolutely horrified, you too, at some of the shit that I lived through in medical school. I mean, and it includes things like, there were 200 people in our class, 202 or so people in my class, 18 women, and the women were required.
Wait. Let that soak in for a minute.
Yeah.
202 people,
Mm-hmm.
18 women. So the percentage
18
was
women.
like shit.
Oh, they had just started letting women. I went to Georgetown Medical School. They had like just started letting women in about maybe 15 years prior. So to the establishment, we should be considering ourselves lucky to be there, basically. And it was a shitty environment to be trained in. We were required to wear white skirts 2 inches above the knees at all times. The boys could wear scrubs. I had to wear white skirt every day. And it was, for the second 2 years. And it was, it was very marginalizing atmosphere. It was a great education, but I had to develop a skin that was so thick. There is no way, like and I use this term with some affection. My snowflake teenagers would be blogging and vlogging and hashtagging and posting the crap out of their own mistreatment. And I was just trained, like, literally, like, I'm lucky to be here. I'm going to shut my mouth and get my fucking degree and I'm out. But it didn't end. Residency is what you do after medical school. And I did 5 years of a residency, and I was the only woman in the residency too. So at the time, there weren't many options. If you open your mouth, your life is very difficult. And so you just learn to suck it up and develop a thick skin. And unfortunately, I became just as thick-skinned and kind of, became one of the boys. It was the only way to survive.
So, moving fast forward, what in your wiring, because we are definitely differently wired as far as chefs are concerned, what wiring fucked you up to say, fucking, I want to be a chef?
Well, I had no. This is going to sound ironic because it not much changed in terms of lifestyle, except started to make less money, which was awesome. And I spent just as much time out of the house. my kids were older, but I also have a passion for it. And there's nothing like getting out of bed every day to do something you love. I mean, that's really not a crock of shit. If you love what you do, it's not work. And I, going into the ER, I worked in Manhattan and Tribeca in an emergency room, and to get up I live in New Jersey, to get up at 4 or 5, spend 18 hours there, and then do the same thing again the next day for 20 plus years. I just broke, and I didn't like it, and I saved lives. I did incredible things that you can't even like get your head around sometimes. But personally, like, I was lost. I was overweight. I was bloated. I was depressed. I missed my children. I was a single parent. And I never saw my kids, but I also didn't like myself because I didn't like what I did.
Now,
And
why was that
that
the
was
case that
the
you were
key.
bloated, that you were, that you felt that you needed to go to this cleanse, obviously? What was causing this whole thing? The stress?
The stress, yeah. I mean, actually, from a medical point of view, it's unbelievable the effect that stress has on our bodies. It causes your kidneys to overproduce stress hormones, and your blood pressure goes up, and you gain weight, and you get headaches, and you get bloated, and you get depressed. I mean, it's not astrology. It's not urban legend. It's actually all true. Stress, if you can find healthy ways to control stress, you can control a lot of your, like, I wound up by changing the way I eat and changing the way I cook and bringing my culinary clients along with me. It's complete. I mean, I physically feel like I'm in my 20s, early 30s. Like, I don't feel my age. I went gluten-free, dairy-free, and refined sugar-free all in one day. And I've been living like that for 5 years. And if you may have seen me, it was like a picture of me on one of my last days practicing medicine. I look like I'm about 15 years older than I do now.
So you attribute to getting in the culinary field partly because you wanted to feel better from the inside out.
Well, you know what? The answer is something that came to me after I did it. And it was basically, I mean, the crazy part is like, it was October 14th. I remember the day. I walked out of the emergency room and I looked back as I was walking to my car, and I said, I can't go back tomorrow. Like, I can't. I was like, you just hit a wall, and it was like a relationship. Like, one day you just realize it's over. And that's what I felt like. I was like, I'm breaking up with you. And I resigned, and I spent, and I was at like the height of my career medically. And I spent a few months doing really just deep reflection, like, what drives me, what motivates me, what am I good at, what do I love, like conversations I should have had with myself when I was 20. And I didn't have them until my kids were old enough. And anybody who has kids, especially moms, but dads too, you lose your identity in the, whatever 20 plus years it takes to raise functioning humans. And so I put myself on pause for a really long time, and I just kept doing what I was good at, because why think about it? It was working. And then it just wasn't anymore. And one thing I had never done, and this is the honest truth, I'm a perfectionist, and most of us chefs are, and we're driven, and we're passionate and freaking stubborn. And I had to be a perfectionist. I never cooked for my children when they were small, when I was practicing medicine, because if I couldn't make them freaking Chateaubriand or like a pan sauce or I don't know, velouté, if I couldn't do it like perfectly, I didn't want to do it. So I was buying like pre-cooked Purdue chicken breasts and making them mac and cheese and throwing them canned peas. Like, I just didn't even think about cooking because I couldn't be good enough at it. And so that's what walking away from my career afforded me. I had a little bit of savings, and I was able to just dive into something that I wish I had done when I was, out of high school.
So from the time period you said, fuck it, I'm out, to the time period you are now,
Mm-hmm.
how long from the medical field to the chef field that have you been involved in?
That's 8 years.
And that's
8
pretty.
years.
That's pretty stellar to say that. First of all, you're a female, and I'm not taking anything away from that, because that's what we talked about. And then one of the reasons why I asked in specific what it was you went through in the medical field leads me to the next thing. the we talked. We're not going to mention the name, but you have or worked with somebody who is pretty stellar as far as the food chain of chefs up there,
Yeah, celebrity chef.
celebrity
Yeah,
chefs, and
yeah.
you were his executive sous chef. So
Hmm.
tell me the story about moving from being an ass wiper in the medical field per se, quote unquote. By the way, if anybody
Hmm.
wants to, it's definitely cocktail
It's
o'clock.
after fun.
It's cocktail
Yeah,
o'clock. So go ahead and grab your shit and get
lemon
go.
martini.
Right. Which is funny is lemon martini. So here's the thing, and I always ask this to women chefs because I want to hear their stories, because I
Yeah.
think, and we talked about this in the background, is my mom taught me how to cook. My mom
Hmm.
gave me the palate I have, and a lot of chefs, their grandmother or their mother, there is some feminine disposition there that gave them the palate they have today. But yet, on the
Right.
same token, they feel that the feminine disposition needs to only stop and stay at the salad pantry.
Salad or garmo or pastry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
grand mache, pastry, whatever. What are
Hmm.
some of the things you've been challenged with, the opportunities you've been with, but yet more importantly, how did you overcome them? Coming from a field that you've quote unquote stated it was a lot fucking harder
Oh yeah.
being
Well, I
medical.
mean yeah, the training, the science and all that, but like the actual day to day when you get down to it, like when you're practicing, is it's the same physical on your feet labor,
Right,
multitasking, nonstop shit show all the time, like like a kitchen.
right.
So I was used to that. Um, but all right, so I jumped in. My first position was, of course, doing salads and pastry because I'm a girl. I mean, honestly, that's I just got. It's also where it's the easiest. One of the. I don't want to say easy because there's a beautiful art to making a perfect salad and doing pastry, but it's one of the less. It's not saute, it's not fish, it's not the grill. It's a little slower. So I got to get my feet wet in that, but then I realized I was pigeonholed there, and that took a little while to realize. But what I started to do was enter, and I know you asked me about the story with somebody I worked for, but just how I got noticed beyond salads and pastry. It was I just started. I had started my web. I've been involved in some Facebook groups, started my website, and I just started doing stuff on my own time and entering different cook-offs. People who were looking for sous chefs. I mean, I started and then I made CDP. Like I went through some of the chain, and then I said, you know what? This isn't like I'm 20 and I can do 2 years at each station or 3 years at each station. I got to accelerate this. So I just made it a point to it was just nonstop. It was my life. It was practice, and I was doing it every day, and I was doing it when I didn't have to do it. And then I actually entered there was a national call for an executive sous chef position for a celebrity chef. And he was flying people in from all over. And I was, relatively, completely unknown. And I I got it. I couldn't believe it. I competed. It was like a mystery box kind of challenge. Crazy, weird stuff. I was allowed to bring 1 or 2 spices with me, 1 or 2 tricks up my sleeve, but just kind of wing it and create 3 entrees. And I competed against some really, I was shocked. Let's put it this way. I knew I had done a good job, but I was shocked I got the position. Anyway, position for this a brand new restaurant that he was opening in New Jersey. And so I was in on the ground level from, building it, opening it, like designing it, ordering it, everything, just opening a restaurant. And I had negotiated a very competitive salary. And he hired he always has 2 sous. So he hired my sous from somewhere out in the West Coast. I'm not going to say where, it doesn't matter. And this guy's about, probably a good 20, 25 years younger than me. He told the guy that I was basically kind of running the kitchen because he was the executive chef. So he's not there. I mean, let's be real. He's not in the kitchen every day. This guy from the West Coast said he wouldn't work for me if I made the salary I was making. And so the executive chef who owns this national, like, collection of restaurants, basically got me on the phone and said, you're going to have to take a pay cut. I'm not going to pay you your salary. You're going to have to go as my executive sous for a brand new restaurant that does 1,000 covers average a night on the weekend. You're going to take an hourly salary that was commensurate with what I was making when I was doing like the saute station when I started. And that was probably one of the most difficult days of my life, both as a woman and as a chef and as a professional, because it was a day when I think an older version of me would have folded and just taken the privilege to be able to work with him and get my name associated with him. And it basically was the thing that empowered me to start my own business, because I told him to, well, I'm not going to mince words. I basically told him to fuck off. And I said that that's not going to happen. Like, we had a verbal, and then I went lawyer on him. I said we had a verbal contract, and, screw you, because I know every detail on this going in, and now you're going to play this game. I put my foot down, and it was like the best thing I ever did, because I was able to maintain my relationship with his group, and I actually kiss ass a lot less because I held my ground.
Well, let me ask you a question. You've got how many girls?
I have 2 daughters.
So within the 2 daughters, you've basically made the footprint or started the footprint for your 2 girls and other women that could be watching this right now. That basically is, you know what? No man is going to tell you what the fuck to do.
Well, right. And that's what I actually thought of. I thought when it was happening, because I was on the phone, so it wasn't like face to face. I had a little time to react. And I thought of that. My 18-year-old daughter, she's like sometimes like a conscience check. I think, what if I relay this to her and she kicks my ass, because I wouldn't let her get away with taking that.
Right.
And it's not. I wasn't raised that way, but I raised my children that way. And sometimes I have to remind myself that if I couldn't sell it to them, I'm not going to sell it to myself.
Well, I think what truly was amazing, you said it now, and you said it in the pre-show for the 2 of us in the green room.
In the green room.
One of the things that really kind of echoed in my mind is that you have always been told to be in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And yet now you're in a kitchen and you're told not in this kitchen.
Not this kitchen.
Right. So right. I think it's really poetic. So, I mean, I know you've only been in the industry this long. We haven't even gotten to the book yet. And if you could talk to somebody who is just starting out that could say something, and one of my really phenomenal favorite people just joined us, Michelle Lee Matthews, who is just an amazing individual. And I hope to get her on this one day. She just said, yo. What I want to bring to the forefront is my mom is the one that gave me the palate that I have. And a lot of these asshole chefs that the John Pesh, and the Mario Batali, and the other ones that have been involved in the Me Too movement, and these other dickheads that do shit like this, really, really emphasize the fact of the matter is we're not all like that. There's a lot of good. And I've never really brought this up. I did this once. Lindsay is part of it with the Lee Initiative. So you've got Edward Lee, who came out and said, listen, there's the Me Too movement. We've got a lot of guys that have been really shitty, that have done stuff. And he's like, listen, I'm going to show you what we can do, that the men of the industry have done some great things. And he's really taken some really beautiful people that have been really given a shitty hand in far as what they've been dealt. And they've turned themselves around. He's worked them with some beautiful people with James Beard Foundation. And they've turned their lives around and really become productive female chefs. I don't look at male, female either.
Right.
My thing is, what could you tell somebody who is stupid enough, wired irregularly, to say, I
Fucked
want
up enough, right?
right. I don't like my like nights and weekends. I don't like my holidays.
Right.
Like
I don't like
fuck going out with my
relationships or
friends.
yeah, right.
I really like drinking and drugs. What would you tell that individual?
Okay,
Female. I want to preface.
female. Oh wow. Well, depends on the age of the female. I'm thinking of what if I did it differently at this age versus when I was younger. You know, I worked in the same kind of profession in terms of hours and number of hours out of the house and not seeing my kids. Medicine and the culinary world, very similar. I never worked less than like 110 hours a week as a doctor, and I don't think I've ever worked less than like 80 or 90 sometimes as a chef, right? So it wasn't the time, it was the quality of the time. And I think that that's what I would tell. This is a challenge women face no matter what profession you're going to. And my sister's a teacher. I've got friends who have more of the quote unquote female type professions. If you can't find a supportive partner, it's really hard to be a single parent in a job where you're working 90 hours a week or even 60 hours a week, you know, and they don't pay us enough for childcare. I didn't get paid enough even as a doctor for some of the childcare that I needed because I was a single parent. And I think that that's crucial is if you make a choice to have children, and, you know, this is has nothing to do with gender issues at all. But the fact of the matter is you as a mom, you do more of the hands-on. Unless you're a completely single dad. But, you know, I'm doing the permission slips and the whatever, the lunches and all that stuff. It's very hard to do. But so I would say, like, you have to keep that in mind the whole time, whether you're making a decision to marry or have children. There's something about the W word becoming somebody's wife and something about becoming somebody's mother. Your expectations as a human are completely changed. And it's like, wait a minute, all we did was have a little ceremony and a party, and now you have different expectations of me. It's very strange. It's a very strange phenomenon because I'm like, wait a minute, we were living together 4 years, and now you expect me to have dinner on the table at 4:30? What the hell? What did I step into? The 1950s?
4:30.
You know, like my ex-husband. Long story. He was a blue collar
Was he
guy.
90?
Yeah, he got out of work at 3:30. He was like, he worked from 6 to 3:30. He wanted dinner at 5, 4:30 or 5.
But
And I'm
here's the thing, though. You know, as an executive sous chef to a celebrity chef, you mentioned it. I'll bring it up again. And there's probably a lot of female chefs that are out there like that. You know, having that leadership role, and I quote unquote leadership role, because some chefs don't deserve that leadership role, but some do. You were looked at more because of the feminine side of things. You were also looked at as the mommy
oh
and
yeah,
a sexual object, because you were telling me
yeah,
before in the scenes, you know, you had to fire a lot of people recently because of this COVID, and we
I
haven't even
did.
gotten there yet. What did somebody do to you recently?
Oh my God, my brand new right before we shut down, right before we had to unfortunately lay everybody off. Um, the baby line cook, my brand new line cook, like I don't know, he's 20 or 21. He grabbed my just full. I was on the line, and he grabbed my ass, like not even like it wasn't like a brush or a accident. Oops, sorry, chef.
It was a full
Full
on.
on. There was a full handful, and I thought, oh shit, I'm gonna get fired
But no,
because
why did you think that you were going to get fired?
because I slapped him. I full on like open hand, hard as hell, slapped him, and I said, "You don't ever fucking touch me like that again."
Well, this is why I don't
Oh
want.
hi!
This is bacon bits. I
Oh,
wouldn't
she could
want.
hear me. I hope
No,
she
she
didn't hear me
didn't.
say
She
that.
didn't. She didn't. But this is the reason why I wouldn't want her to become a chef, because I guarantee you
Right.
she would actually haul off and do the same thing, right?
Oh my! If that happened to my daughter, she'd be in lockup.
Right.
I promise you. Yeah.
Yeah. But what gives them? What gives that male cook that right? And we don't have the answer at all, probably. But what gives them the right to think that way?
I don't know. We were talking before in our. Oh, are you there?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Still
Okay.
there.
We were talking before in our pregame. In the green room. Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, about the fact that, and as there's one of the women who does prep for my kitchen is a woman, and other than that, it's me and her and a bunch of guys. So I don't know. As soon as there was a dynamic that I noticed pretty early on in my culinary career, which is you're sexualized in the kitchen, but
Well, you mentioned
also,
sexualized
or
mommy,
you're turned or mommified. You're
mommified.
turned into everybody's mommy. So I do everything from fix boo-boos, to put band-aids on, 10-year line cooks, to giving people advice about their relationships, to slapping people's hands away from my ass. It's insane. It's sometimes I feel like I'm running a daycare. I don't know. It's I know there's lots of kitchens that are dysfunctional like that. But it's a real challenge because I'm just leading. I'm cooking. I'm trying to lead by example. I came up through a really interesting but difficult way, and I have the chops for it. So to be sexualized or turned into somebody's mommy is really disheartening. It's like, dude, fuck you. Like, I worked for this like a hard. You don't do that to me. I mean, it's like the boundaries for some reason, and I think maybe it has something to do with my generation, but just kind of being less definitive with your boundaries. I don't know if it's something you give off.
No, I think it's not that it's generational. I think it's more age related because I mean, you've already said that you were at an age that was later in years than most people. If you were to be able to talk to somebody that was not at your age but who was starting out that happened to, I think you would tell them, listen, you don't take that stuff. No.
Absolutely. And that's the lesson. I can't believe it took me 49 or 50 years to learn the lesson a lesson I didn't even learn practicing medicine. It was just to say, fuck off. No, that's not going to happen. I'm not doing that. And have boundaries and keep the boundaries. And also I stopped. One of the most liberating things that ever happened to me is I stopped giving a shit about what people think of me. And I don't mean that I'm not kind to people. I just mean that, about whether they don't like the color of my hair or the way I stand up for myself. If I have to defend one of my dishes, if I have to defend my actions, like I just don't care anymore. I just say who I am, what I think. I present who I am, what I think, and I don't play games anymore.
But we were talking the pregame and the pre-show green room. One of the things you stipulated to me also was, generally speaking, you are an author, so you're on a different level as far as your social game. You're a blogger. You have a lot of men that message you in the background.
Oh my God!
About certain things. You want to go ahead and discuss that?
Yeah. Oh my God! You guys wouldn't believe this. I mean, especially for the women who are listening, I get messages from all over the world, just hate mail about my hair, my tattoos, my makeup. I don't know. I mean, it's about my appearance.
What about your appearance that causes them to send you this? Let's wait a minute. Let's talk about what. Sorry, I'm putting on a shower cap to a little girl.
That's okay.
What multitasking? We'll get to that in a second. What about your appearance? Really, kind of jump started all these different emails coming to you because that really is the epitome to me. And let's not talk about where they're coming from.
I won't say
what demographic, but
right.
What's being said to you?
Oh, it's about my sexuality. It's about my hair. Why do you make yourself look like a man? What a waste of a uterus. That was one of my favorites.
And my response was, I think my response was classic.
What? I forgot what you said now.
I said, listen, this has already been used and abused, so I'm okay with that right now. I've had 3 kids, so it's done.
I did my job.
It's been rented.
God, what is it? Like, go forth and populate the earth? Isn't that in the Bible or something? I did my part.
It doesn't matter what part of the Bible, whatever religion.
No mas. Right?
You've done your stuff.
I'm done. I did it. So first of all, besides the fact it's none of their fucking business, right?
Right.
But I get comments about, you're not a woman, basically. Why did you cut your hair? Why do you color your hair purple? Why do you have a tattoo? I just, what a shitty role model you must be for your daughters. Because on my Facebook, if I become friends with people and they see pictures of my kids, now I'm a shitty role model for my kids. And I actually had somebody locally say to me that, that my because I didn't have a husband, or because they sent it through Facebook Messenger, but it was because I was a single parent that like there was something wrong with my parenting. There had to be something wrong with my parenting because I don't have a partner.
Well,
Or
the other thing you also said to me was generationally, because you and I are on the same generation,
Mhm.
Generation X's. You either you were the virgin, the Madonna theory is what
Oh,
you
it's
called it,
Madonna or
right?
whore.
Right, or you were a whore. So,
Right.
like, how does that affect you as a chef, and now having two daughters? How does that affect you now?
Well, I mean, that's a paradigm or a dichotomy that's been around for centuries. One of my undergraduate degrees is in feminist theology, and I learned a lot about
Well, wait. Let that soak in for a second. Feminist theology.
feminist theology, which is just the study of matriarchal religions. Wait, did
But
I lose you again?
but most religions are primarily based upon masculine, not
No,
feminine. Well, no, the actual okay, and I'll give you a point.
the major ones.
The major ones, the three major ones, are all
Uh,
dealing with that. You have a female who walks behind the male. The male
I
is
know
the
that,
preferent, the first,
right?
which is really up to me. Even though it's most religions are feminine, every
Well,
deity, god, whatever.
right, the days, but there's just like there's a history that's not taught, and there's American history that's bastardized. There's European history that's bastardized.
Everything.
There's theology. I mean, where are all the women in the history books, right?
Right.
How is it possible? Except for Betsy Ross and the flag. Come on,
And
right?
Magdalene.
Right.
That's the only two
Yeah,
major like people besides
and Virgin Mary.
right, and besides some of
But
the Black History movement people.
well, but there's a whole history of religions. I mean, and most of the more ancient ones are matriarchal. I mean, the earth is considered feminine.
Right.
It's Mother Earth. And women have the power to create life, literally create life with you. So the more ancient religions, and some have actually, even the more enlightened ones, worshipped female deities because it made sense with creation. So anyway, it's a whole thing.
Well, no, one of the chef friends just posted Joan of Arc. So
Yes, Joan of Arc.
you can
Right.
definitely go. There's
We could
definitely
go, yes.
we can
Or,
start a whole balloon effect on the feminine part of things. The
right.
bottom line is like, how do you go from medical and what you did there as the chef on the line holding down the fort? Because you mentioned something about it. You were doing algebra with your daughter and running the pass. And you said it was called
Multitasking.
right.
Right. I said that I thought women made better executive chefs because we are the best multitaskers on the planet. I mean, it's just true. I mean, there are just some things that are true. I know that there are some guys that are amazing multitaskers. There's not broad sweeping generalizations, but in general, any mom out there knows what it's like to try to follow the plot of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, do algebra homework, get a pedicure, tweeze your eyebrows, make dinner, and prepare for work tomorrow, all at the same time. So, like, we're just used to it. You're used to. So I'll be, if I'm running the pass at work, I've got my daughter on FaceTime and I'm walking her through the quadratic equation for algebra. And, it's funny. My kids are a little older now. They're all late teens. But when I'm not around is when they decide to call me, and I got them all on emergency bypass, and so I'm literally doing everything in the kitchen, like, just what we all do all the time. But yeah, I mean, I'm a single mom, so if somebody needs help with algebra, I'm up. That's it. They call me. So I kind of do it on the DL. She
How do
stares
you,
at the
but how do you
she stares at the
balance?
ceiling.
How do you balance? That is like David Chang recently just came out and stipulated in one of his shows, Ugly Delicious, I think it was. And I
Yeah,
knew that
I
I knew
love
this
that show.
prior to this, that his wife is pregnant, and he
Hmm.
was asking a lot of the chefs in the industry, and I thought it was really poetic that one of his friends, one of his line cooks, actually moved out to somewhere, and I don't remember where. Excuse the lack of knowledge. I don't remember where, but they actually, him and his wife opened a restaurant that they lived in the same location, so they could come down. The kids interacted, and mom had the ability to be with the kids. So he was trying to figure out how to balance this kid and restaurant relationship, and you did it. You have done it. What could you tell not only females but chefs that are males?
The way I had to do it was I empowered my children, and that's just the way it was. I I am blessed that I have these children who, and you know what? I started to bring this up earlier, and this comes around full circle. After I was in the culinary world for a few years, my kids sent me something on Mother's Day that said, "We never wanted a perfect mom, just a happy mom." So the fact that they could see me so happy and that was valuable to them made me braver to be able to tell them, this is how you do your laundry. This is how you scramble eggs. This is how you get your lunch ready for school tomorrow if I'm not here to make it for you. Um, I even taught my older daughter, gave her the passwords for paying some online bills. And I little by little empowered younger teenagers who they were maybe middle school at the time, that, hey, you can do this. We're okay. It's the three of us. I got your back. You got my back. We're a team. We'll help each other. So mommy's going to go to work, and these are the things I need you guys to do after you do your homework.
Do you feel
And
that you're giving them life lessons that high school doesn't give them?
well, yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things I'm proudest of is my older two are in college. Well, they're home now, but uh, they went to college with all the life skills that I didn't have until I was in my 20s. Paying bills, laundry, food shopping, transferring money in between savings and checking accounts, you know, figuring out which mail to open and call me about. And I think because I showed I trusted them, they just became incredibly proficient at it, and they valued the trust. So that's the best advice I could give. I mean, when they're little, it's hard. When they're babies, they need attention. But I wouldn't be afraid to do it even younger, like 10, 11 years old. This is okay. You can do this. I'm going to show you how, and we can figure out a way to get everything we need to get done around the house and enjoy a movie when mommy gets home.
So let me ask you a question. I mean, we're talking about feminism. We're talking about single parents. We're talking about stuff that's real life. I mean, obviously, and how to deal with it. What if one of your daughters came to you and said, "Mom, I want to be a chef"? How do you handle that?
I don't care. As long as they're happy, I just want them to do what they want to do. I will support them in whatever I mean, if it's legal, let's put it that way. Um,
Which we're about to get to something else right now. Just so you
right.
know.
But I mean, I don't want them to become drug kingpins or run a cartel. Wink, wink. But my oldest daughter, she's doing criminal forensic psychology, and my younger daughter wants to be an interior designer, and my son is trying to figure out what he wants to do, and I just want them to be happy. I don't care what it is, Because, I mean, honestly, I made a lot of money working as a physician, and who cares, right? It didn't mean anything. It didn't buy me anything. And everything it did buy me, I don't have anymore. I don't give a shit anymore. So, my happiness and the happiness of my family is much more valuable. And I also, honestly, if I hadn't done it, I don't know. I feel like I would have just been like kind of waiting to die, which is depressing. I was really in a bad place. And man, if you don't take that risk and take that leap and just go with your gut, what's the point? I mean, honestly, that's the lesson I taught myself midlife. And, that's kind of like a cliche, right? A midlife crisis. But
one of
it
the
was
things,
just coincidental.
one of the things you stipulated to me in the back, in the green room, is what this propelled you to do it. Like you had said that this sous chef coming in to the
Oh,
celebrity chef was like, well, I'm not going to listen to her. I'm not going to answer her. What did that do to you? What that, instead of crawling in the fetal position and saying, oh, fuck it, woe is me, what did that do to you? What did that promote you to do?
oh my God, that just lit a fire under my ass, man. I was motivated. And I also wasn't afraid. I just, like, I don't know. That was like I wish I remembered the exact date. That's like Independence Day. Bruce Springsteen has a song
So that
about
was
it
your
on
July
Independence
4th.
Day. That was my July 4th. That was my, like, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm not doing this. You don't get me for free. You don't get, I got this job fair and square. I competed against some of the best in the country. I got this job. It's my fucking job. You're not taking away my salary. I'm not going to answer to this, 12-year-old dickhead. Like, I was mad.
But your dynamic changed from
Completely.
the celebrity chef to you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It completely changed. And I thought, this is just sink or swim. I mean, at the time these words were coming out of my mouth, I was like, man, I'm getting canned, like, because I'm telling him no. And it actually shifted the power dynamic because I told him no, held my ground, started my own business, and wrote a cookbook. And I wouldn't have done any of that if somebody hadn't tried to take my salary away from me that I freaking earned.
so one of the things I have on my notes is you said it was a man's world.
Yeah.
How is cooking a man's world when, seriously, in history, in the paradigm of you being this theologic feminist,
Right.
the place of a woman is what in most men's minds?
In the kitchen, but not my kitchen.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
how did you say, okay, fuck it to X, I'm going to write a fucking cookbook and I'm going to start my own business? What, you went from, how did those steps go?
I had my website going for a few years at that point.
And the website is
Chrissy'sKitchen.com.
There you go, a little plug.
And so I had been holding back. I did a classic girl trick, and I held back. I held off I'm posting all my recipes for a while and collected them. I had already written them up, and I collected them and put them in. And I basically, after that July 4th day, after that Independence Day, I came home, bitched about it. My daughter is one of my favorite people. My older daughter. I mean, they all are. I'm not gonna, we're not doing that. But she's driven. She's got a mouth. Like she's just unbelievable to me. Like she's got a lot of wisdom for her age. And so I came home and I was like, you won't fucking believe what happened. And she looked at me and she said, you are one of the best cooks I've ever and she actually works in the restaurant industry. She said, you have some of the most killer recipes. She was like, start cooking for other people. She said, other people will pay you to do this. Be a private chef. We live in a relatively affluent area, and we started brainstorming, and literally a week later, I put out my first menu for Chef Chrissy's Kitchen Clean Meal Prep. And that was, June or July of 2019. And within 2 months, I was making enough money with my own business to pay the bills. And working in the kitchen with all the assholes is beer money. It's going in the underwear drawer. So everything else, I mean, it's a great position to be in. And then so it took me about a year to collect all like a year's worth of recipes that I thought were really fine enough to belong in a book. And I have a built-in following from the clean eating, and I have a really strong following on, not so much on Instagram because I'm kind of relatively new to Instagram, but on Facebook. So I said that's who's gonna. I did a pre-order kind of thing for the cookbook, and then I published it, and it was released April 1st.
And so, you go from the one extreme from working a celebrity chef and a douchebag coming in and saying, well, I'm not going to work because I'm not going to answer her, to this full 360 of going to the man. So you basically, to the man's world, have done this to the man's world. And, which leads me to like the next thing is, you've got the three kids and the two kids you deal with. And we talked about this, and you left medicine, and we touched about this. Drugs.
Yeah.
Our industry is synonymous. You've been a mommy figure. You've been a sexual figure.
Yeah.
How?
Oh yeah, the Madonna whore thing. We
Right.
never finished talking about that. Yeah.
How do you go from that mommy figure at work and take that shirt off of the Wonder Woman and put the Wonder Mom on?
Because there's no way I'm Wonder Mom.
But no, I mean, to an extent, how do you handle those social mannerisms that, let's say your daughter says to you, Mom, I want to have a glass of vodka with you, or Bloody Mary you, or Mom, I want to get high with you. How do you handle that?
Okay, maybe don't come to me for parenting. I'm not an expert with parenting advice, but I have had success with all three by saying, okay, let's do it together.
As far as marijuana.
Well, drinking
drugs.
too. Yeah. It's actually, it was weird at first. It was almost like talking to them about sex. It was like that conversation. They were like, "Oh my God, no, Mom! Oh my God, that's disgusting!" I was like, oh, "Please don't lie to me. Like I taught you how to use a fucking spoon. I know you're lying." So I said, I basically about both topics just said, shut up. I'm going to tell you what I know you're doing. We're going to deal with it one of the following ways. You can pick, and I will help you.
It's
so
fun.
Sex, it was one conversation, and drugs, it was another conversation. It was the same kind of outcome. No, not the sex, though. I didn't. Like...
No, I get it.
You know what I mean?
Bacon Bits is 7, and we were driving down the street, and she says, well, I know where, baby dogs come from. I'm like, really? Where do baby dogs come from? She says, well, the one dog jumps on the other dog, and the baby comes out. Yes, it does. I don't, at that point, because you look at things that like when I found out I was having a baby girl, I realized God has a very clean sense of humor. He was just like,
yeah, me too.
But as a chef in the industry of what we do, one of my buddies called me today. He's like, you've been furloughed, you're not working. How are you? And we all know that I talk about suicide because I'm very passionate about it, because I've had so many people have completed suicide, and I myself had tried to complete suicide. And one of the things I talk about so clearly and so definitively is just being open. right? Because you want to be
Exactly.
open.
Yeah.
You don't want to hide things from anybody. You don't want to be, God, I was 33 when my ex-father-in-law completed suicide, and I found out that I had members of my own family that completed suicide. But not saying that you want to do that at that age, at 7, but you want to have this relationship with your child and this balance of life. And I think that's the one of the biggest things that we as chefs go through. And I'm watching how many people are watching this right now, and how do we bridge that gap from, or not only the gap, but that balance of mom, dad slash people to talk to about things. Come to talk.
Hmm.
Please come to talk to me. And how do we keep
Right.
that line of communication open? It's tough because listen, when I was 15 to I don't know what age, I probably came back to my parents and said, "Yeah, you were fucking right." What age do you think you said, "Yeah, mom and dad, I think you were fucking right"?
Mm. Well, my parents are of a generation and of countries where, they didn't grow up like the way we did here, like with, and it was like they also grew up in the 40s and 50s. So it was a big difference.
Which
God, pot was like, first of all, no premarital sex. That they, well, not that.
it was
My
just a
father was
tip. It was just a
my
tip.
father was in the Navy. Let me just preface it with that. So, but like, the things that I wound up admitting to my parents that they were right about, that I had enough that they had experience and that I had experience with, I was probably in my late 30s before I went back and said, Jesus, I wish I had listened to you. But they have just such a different life experience than me. I mean, they've been married 55 years. They, my mother never had to work. They always owned their house, and I went to college. I started living on my own when I was 17, 18. I've been married 3 times. I like,
Well, we talked about that.
my parents and I come from
Your
different
but here's
planets.
the thing about being married 3 times. Your picker was broken, not your pecker.
Or they were just, dates, single dates that turned into relationships.
Well, and that's fine because that defines the woman you are today, right?
Oh,
Because
absolutely. I don't regret anything.
no, and you really shouldn't because that's everything that life experience you go through. I personally think that this is the growing experience that we talk about. Listen, this
Yeah.
is not called a vlogcast, table for two, bitch, please. This is straight out. No, I gotta watch more of my daughter. I just heard somebody come up the stairs. This is straight up. Your dick is on the table, and we're talking about. This is it.
Real stuff.
This
Yeah.
is it. And,
Yeah.
and and this is not only just to help us talk about it, but this is also for the people that are watching this now and the people that are going to watch us later.
Hmm.
Everything that goes about it. Now, let's bring this fast forward. So, Celebrity Chef, you fired what you needed to fire. You've got Christy's Kitchen. You've got the cookbook coming out. But then all of a sudden, you turn this corner, and nobody saw this happening. You
Mm.
turn the corner, and oh shit, COVID. How has COVID-19 really affected you?
You know, I consider myself freaking incredibly blessed, because I have something to fall back on because I started my business before this started. Straight up, if I didn't jump a little less than a year ago, um, I wouldn't be able to support my family right now. I mean, that's just straight up facts. Um, so, man, I don't know. I mean, things happen. I hate this phrase, but it's true. Things happen the way they're supposed to. So that like little Independence Day I had, and I thought my life was falling apart because I was going to lose my job and I was going to lose my salary. You know, it happened at the right time. I started a business. I wrote a book. And So that's what we're living on now. And you know, knock on wood, I haven't lost any clients. I haven't had a huge uptick in clients either. People are kind of, but
You're
I haven't lost any
maintaining.
business. I haven't lost any business. And I've had even people who are like just so grateful that they don't have to. Imagine if you don't love cooking and you're stuck at home for 5 or 6 freaking weeks, and you know how many. So people are grateful. It's a good feeling. People are grateful. They respond to me, even though they're paying for the food. It's a great feeling for them to say to me, "Thank you for feeding my family." And I love the personal interaction. I mean, right now I'm doing contact free stuff, but the personal interaction of knowing a family and knowing what they like to eat. I mean, I put out a menu every week, but kind of you get to know your clients. And instead of being in the back of the house, which is where I usually am, and I don't get out to see people enjoy my food, it's nice to have the immediate feedback and to have a small client base.
Well, it's funny because I was on your website and I was doing a little stalking. I mean, sorry, research. And one of the things you stipulated, I remember seeing this meme of a kitchen line, and I guess it was a quote from your book about doing the dance on a Saturday night, tickets
Yeah,
rolling off, and printers going off, and in my mind, as a chef, I'm picturing everything that's going on.
yeah,
Printers going, and in your mind, you're like, shit, the printer's broken. It's going down to
yeah.
the floor. Tickets are hung from left to right.
From
You can't get
left to right,
anything. And the
across the
smell,
rail.
right, and the smell of the grill, searing off
the
the meat.
hissing, the hissing and the noise and the sizzling and the smells. And yeah, in my mind, we're all in the middle of a Saturday night. It's like, I don't know. It's like how you remember your friends from when you were a kid. You're still all riding in a gang on a bike around the neighborhood. In my mind, all my fellow chefs, we're all at work, and it's the ticket going off nonstop, and you're doing that crazy dance that happens on the line or at the pass. Where somehow you magically don't burn each other or cut each other, and every ticket gets, you stick them on the punch thing, and the night ends, and it's just this incredible feeling. I mean, I miss that, and in my mind, I like to think that that's where we all still are.
And that's like to this, unfortunately, we're at the stage in our lives that COVID has stopped a lot of people, and we've gone to this social distancing, and a lot of people have taken that social distancing to be mental distancing, and it's not that at
Yeah.
all. And
No.
and, and to read your words, um, you know, I literally went back in my mind. That's the chaos I thrived on.
I love that.
Like Tom Peters, it was like thriving on chaos.
Yeah.
How do we get back? Nobody really knows. Nobody knows. I don't care about Trump and anything political that I'm not going to get political at all.
Hmm.
We talk about Trump's political panel that's on there with Thomas Keller and Gene George and
Hmm.
Daniel Blue and the guys from Carrabba's and all these other guys. The thought of us getting back to that high, because initially and poetically enough, I think as chefs we thrive on the chaos because
Oh
again
yeah.
we're wired so differently.
Hmm.
And you made a comment earlier. It's either the ER or the pass. I'm still doing my shit and thriving on the chaos.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think the chaos looks like after COVID? Both with a medical field degree and as a chef degree.
What do I think? Oh my God, I don't know. I mean,
I mean, if you think
I'm
we're fucked, we're
worried.
fucked.
I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm personally the things as a medical person. I mean, I still, I'm never going to not have that knowledge, right? I think that we need to give this a little time, because the worst thing that could happen is a rebound in the number of cases. If we, and actually, I was watching something today on the news about even local communities in New Jersey that are just like, screw it, and
Because
and
you're in the
gathering.
epicenter. Well, you're like one of the epicenters besides New
Yeah,
York.
right. And and I'm watching this, like, place that's about a half an hour away from here, from where I live, and they're just like, you know what, we're done. It's a kind of insular community, and they're just like, we're done. We're not doing it anymore. And they're doing, they're just acting like life has gone back to normal. And it's very concerning, because if there's a rebound in it, then this affects all of us a lot longer. I mean, but then we're going to wind up with, maybe a month out, and then July and August quarantined, or September and October. I think the idea of a vaccine that's like a little mythical right now. They don't happen like that. I mean, they just don't.
Ebola did.
Science takes, but it's only been a few weeks. Science takes. I hope it happens. I just don't think that there's enough time right now. I mean, we need more time. And as far as the restaurant industry, I'm really freaking concerned about it. Not for, like, I work for somebody who can, in the restaurant, and my business has been okay. But I mean, God, there are so many amazing small business chef owners, and where are we, like, how are we helping them? And that's what really concerns me, because our profit margins are like between, they run, what do we run in, 3 to 9%, or 3 to 10%?
3 to 12% is what
something like that. And you got the airline industry and the freaking the banking industry, and they run in the 20s and 30s
or more.
And so it just makes me so scared for these amazingly talented people who, we don't have enough money in the bank to pay the next month's rent.
How do you feel about, like, guys like the Ruth Chris and the Shake Shack that took money? Well, and specifically,
Shake Shack gave it back.
I don't give a shit that they gave it back. Okay, let's be honest.
I know.
They gave it back because they got caught with their hand in a cookie jar. And I'm gonna say this.
They got caught getting private funding.
Right. But I'm gonna say this. And as a chef, as an entrepreneur, you open your own restaurant. You catch your server, your bartender stealing from you. Are you keeping them?
No.
No. So the bottom line is this. Is if you catch your bartender stealing from you, hence Shake Shack is stealing from the government.
Right.
And they go, oop, sorry, we're going to give that money back. So everything's okay?
Well, I also think, no, the problem with it, and I kind of said it tongue in cheek, because they didn't even, like Ruth's Chris, what is it? You had to have 500 employees or less. So instead of applying as a corporation, they applied for every individual restaurant. Why?
Right.
That's shitty.
Well,
like, out of the 10 million that Shake Shack got, I got, I know probably 25 or 50 chefs where 500,000 of that could save their business.
Well, and here's the thing. We have a local, not a celebrity chef, not a chef at all. He owns 17 units from South Beach, Miami, all the way up to Jupiter. So within my footprint where I live, he is covering almost an 8-hour footprint.
Mm-hmm.
He literally broke down in a very emotional breakdown with the city of Palm Beach when they said what their plan was to give money back to small businesses.
Right.
And he said, I don't fit your bill. I'm 650 employees.
He said that.
And I have to fire 650 employees. He didn't fire 500. He let go of 650. And instead of taking the money of that, whatever he was granted of being individual units, he said this and started a foundation called the HHH, Hospitality Hands Helping Others.
That's awesome.
He started off, one of his units was called Howley's, which is right down the street from where I live. And then it opened up 7 units. He started off a GoFundMe page and raised $100,000. And then he took $100,000 out of his own pocket and handed that $100,000 over his own institution, right? His own charity.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the guy like Rodney Mayo, this is who I'm talking about, to the guy who is $40 million rich, who is Shake Shack, who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Right.
How do you sit there and think to yourself, in a million years, like for me, I will never eat another Shake Shack. I will never eat another Ruth
Ruth
Chris
Chris. Yeah, me
because
neither.
how dare they break down the fundamentals of what this guy could have
Hmm.
inevitably said, this is what I want,
Right.
and said, this is what I'm going to do. They have the
Right.
resources that whatever they needed to do. Brio Tuscan Grill could have probably, Brio Bravo, which is the parent company, Brio Tuscan Grill, Bravo
Hmm.
Italiano, 71 units across the country. They're closing down. They're done.
Wow.
Instead of going, fuck it, I'm going to, independently do this, they just said, fuck it, we're going to be done. Whether that's right or wrong, in my eyes, that's more of an impact to me than saying I'm going to take $50 million at the government.
I think it's sickening. I mean, that the behavior has been sickening, and I mean, and I'm trying to stay out of the politics of it.
Yeah,
Look at the
I'm
people.
obviously I've not
Look,
mentioned Trump.
no, but like, look at the people on the council that for on Trump's. I mean, come on, Thomas Keller and Wolfgang Puck. I mean, they're like,
What are they
if not
worth?
billionaires, they're multi hundreds of millionaires. And I don't know how to say this without fuck it, I'm saying it. You know, they're not in the kitchen. I'm not kidding. It's like the one I worked for. I saw him once every 2 or 3 months, and oh, for Christ's sake, when he showed up, I wanted to put a bullet in my head. But like, I don't understand like how you can miss an entire industry of, is that what people think? That's what people think chefs are. They think they're, the ones with the penthouses that you see on TV, or the one, and those are the ones that are on the council. I mean, Jesus, some of the best chefs I know, we don't make it. I know there were days and months I didn't make enough money to make rent, and to have your talent, all of us, all of us, not just me, just to be so unrecognized and unrewarded. And then, and to have her going through this now, and look how fucking important food is, and somebody to cook it for you, and how much it's missed. And I can't believe, nobody's saying, oh God, I wish, I don't know, Nordstrom's was open so I could go get the latest spring fashions. People are saying, I want to fucking eat. And we don't get, it's a weird time, because we're being incredibly appreciated, but we're all going bankrupt.
Well, and the thing of it is that if you look at it, the industry as a whole, we do an incredible amount to the GPD to the United States. I was
Exactly.
interviewing Chef Victor, and he pointed out an $8 trillion or more industry. You look at the gross product that the restaurant industry / tourism industry gives, it's tremendous. I mean, in Miami alone, excuse me, we just found out that 26,000 reservations for Royal Caribbean were slashed. Done. They're
Really.
out. You're looking at Cisco, Gordon Foods, and
Mm-hmm.
U.S. Foods, and all these other different huge conglomerates that are
Like
broadliners.
AFI, yeah.
They're
Mm-hmm.
they're they're laying off people because they don't have the business.
Yeah.
And the other side of the thing, and we haven't even touched on, is these farmers that are plowing back their land because it's cheaper for them to pay a guy to plow that back in, and they go to the government and go, "Please, sir, may I have some more?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's really disgusting
It is.
that how we look at things. Me as a chef, I look at, and I know you do too, chef. We've talked about this. We look at the food we're utilizing. We're looking at the food waste we're doing, looking at the natural resources we're doing. How
Mm-hmm.
much is it to produce the feed for the animal, the produce that we're getting from the farm?
Mm-hmm.
What is the dollar amount that equates to that? Not only the dollar amount, what is it from natural resources that inevitably causes us as a community? Because as a community, a restaurant is the soul of it.
Absolutely. And I read something. I was, while you were talking, I was listening. I was thinking of the like possible solutions, because I read, I don't know if it was you who forwarded. I think I reposted it, but it was an article about why restaurants are fucked. And it was, I mean, that was the title of it. You posted it, right? And it was basically the bottom line was
Margins.
the solution is you're going to have to raise our prices if we survive, right? If we survive, if my all of my friends with their amazing, farm to table restaurants survive, the prices are going to have to go up. And this is something that's really a tricky issue because, I mean, that article is amazing for anybody who doesn't know what it's like to be an executive sous chef or an executive chef. And when you're running a kitchen and you're running on margins to spend, and you got to think about cost of goods, labor cost, inventory, and all of the puzzle pieces that go into making your kitchen profitable. I have this, I even as a private chef, and the other part of my life as a private chef, I have this conflict with other local private chefs because of course it's just a local thing unless somebody wants to fly me across the country, of where like price cut, like if somebody locally drops their price on salmon, I don't get, it's crazy, it's like we're screwing each other. But so like we have to, and I've got somebody who I'm actually really good friends with who calls, I post my menu and then she calls me and she's like, I can't believe you're going to charge that for that. I'm like, what, like, I don't understand why don't, like, even to another chef who I'm talking to another chef
In the
I'm
freezer.
talking to, and I'm trying to explain to her that you're devaluing your service, your years of experience, your labor, you're schlepping around, your gas money, you're going to the market, so, the way I charge is the way I charge. And if it's really difficult to, I hate having to justify it. I'm not getting rich off of it. It's just trying to feed my kids.
Right.
And those are so many factors we have to factor in. And then, somebody's not going to want to pay $32 for the salmon or $42 for the filet because freaking, I don't know, Cheesecake Factory's got it for $19.
But that's Cheesecake Factory. They have
Right, but
300, 500, whatever restaurants they have around the country.
But exactly. But it's like, so, you can't, it's like an education. I wish I could just like zap it into somebody else's understanding of how to, the business behind it. The kind of like the pseudo MBA we all carry around of thinking about food costs, cost of goods, cost of labor, and balance all that out. And if you have to have that conversation with every person, we're not going to survive because we're going to have to raise our prices.
Well, not only that, I've got some comments that are coming in. Beth Redland says there's a chance that Chris Constantino may not be able to reopen, and that makes me incredibly sad.
Really, Chris Constantino?
Yeah, and she goes on to say that's just another example of the restaurant owner, chef/chef, that applied for and didn't receive any PPP stimulus, and that makes me really concerned because if you have these big conglomerates that have the money, the willpower, and the manpower to go ahead and pay for all intents and purposes, steal the stimulus packages, and I compared it with Chef Victor. You have the airline industry that has a $25 billion industry. Here's a check for $25 billion. We have a check for the restaurant industry. Here's X amount of check, but it's for everything.
I know.
Everything.
No, it's designed to me the way it's ridiculous. I wish. Who wrote it? Like who designed? I don't know enough about how it happened like that. But I was looking at, I don't know, some bar graph with the airline industry, the number of employees, the percentage that they contribute to like the gross national product versus restaurants. And the discrepancy is bullshit. It's just unbelievable.
But that goes to show, though, that who's on the panel again?
Keller, Puck. Yeah, okay. But also, then think about this, too. This really gets me. Is, all those years we put in paid our dues. I mean, for me, it's a little shorter. But, I mean, no health benefits. No 401k. No disability, right? So, and then if if you're making $15 an hour, $18 an hour as a line cook, your unemployment's going to be $250 a week. 250, 300. I mean, in New Jersey, I know that's what it turns out to be. And how do you pay bills, support a family on that? And you've lived without health insurance, and you've lived without savings or a 401k or anything. I mean,
What if they
and
got corona?
the airline industry, yeah, what if you get corona, right? The airline industry, all those industries that have these huge bailout packets, they also have amazing benefits. So it's just such bullshit. Like, I mean, I haven't had health insurance, and this is the honest to God truth. As a doctor, I have not had health insurance since 2011. And I'm finally able to make enough to be able to pay for my own. And you know, my kids I've had with their dads, but that's how, you know, desperate it is. And I just don't understand how these other industries get huge bailouts, but their employees have severance packages, or, you know, they're laid off, they get the unemployment, but they still have like Cobra and whatever their
What do you
insurance
think?
policies they paid into.
What do you think the flip side of things is when you look at this is what's the future for the restaurant industry? Do we balance the medical because we're
I got to
barbaric?
tell you something. There's two industries that are not unionized, and I don't understand why. Medicine, and I will tell you, I know people think doctors are rich. Yeah, psychiatrists, plastic surgeons, yeah. But you basically, I mean, it cost me almost $250,000 to go to medical school. So, and so as a doctor in that training, in your training, you're very abused. It's very abusive training. To me, it's the same kind of world in the kitchen. It's trial by fire, literally. I mean, like, actually, literally. You just suck it. You either suck it up or you can't. And we're not unionized. What power do we have? Like, that's what bothers me, and it just created like this glaring hole to me. You know, I knew there was never going to be a way for me to fix unionizing medicine because the AMA controls that. So, like, you know, I am in contact every day with so many, you know, chefs like you, and I have these conversations with people, and, you know, it's like, which organization can we pick to, I don't know, what, throw our power behind?
Well,
Like,
and that's
who gets
that's
it?
for me being an ACF member and a
Mm-hmm.
president of the local chapter. And you know, you look at where we're going and what we're doing, and you see that panel picked out. We talked about the 15 people
Right.
that are on there, and they're all mostly millionaire billionaires.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and you look and go, where's the ACF? Where's the American Culinary Federation? And our
That's
voice as the independent restaurateur, or our voice
right.
as the independent chef as a restaurateur.
Mm-hmm.
We have them. And
That's
it's
what bothers
really
me.
disconcerting
Mm-hmm.
because inevitably what this has taught us is, number one, the United States was not ready for a pandemic. Number
No.
two, our supply chain is absolutely fucked. Our logistics
Mm-hmm.
chain is fucked. Our restaurants, what we now deem, well, what was and what will be, is completely different. I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, and we were just talking about this earlier, I was having a very nice debate with a, uh, a neighbor of mine. We're like, well, they need to open up the market. I'm like, okay, they need to open up the economy. What part of the economy do they need to open up that you're like, we're good?
Right.
And they literally sat back on their chair and are like, well, I'm like, furniture? Does that make the market better?
Right.
Restaurants? Does that make it better? What part of the market, when Donald Trump or whoever the faction is, whatever political party it is, says we're going to open up the market, what says or what deems it saying the market's back or the economy is back? Because inevitably, whatever was the market and what will
Mm-hmm.
be the market is
Totally
completely
different.
different from what we are.
No, it's going to be like post 1929, if you ask me. I mean, just historically speaking, people going to restaurants and doing it once a week or twice a week or even 3 times a week as a way of life wasn't normal. I mean, that didn't happen in the 30s and the 40s after the Depression. It didn't. It happened after World War II. People started, and then and then the 80s and 90s, that like this boom of the restaurant industry, when our margins were still in the 20s and 30% range. It's gonna, I don't know. I guess I could see it going one of two ways. If we reopen the restaurant industry, which would be amazing. First of all, how many are going to be left? That's concerning. But are people going to be willing to throw their money there as much as they have in the past? I'm worried about how it rebounds.
Without a cure.
Right. Without a cure, without a vaccine, and the caveat that if we all stick to our guns and raise our prices a little bit, then who the hell's going to eat it?
What about supply and demand?
Yeah. And then the supply, oh my God. And that's something I've been going through. It's been terrible. I mean, a lot of places, like around me, for example, pizza places are doing takeout, and Chinese places and whatnot. And a lot of places are still open for takeout. But like, so I'm still trying to, and I'm not complaining. This is not like a terrible problem to have, but like, I'm still trying to keep my menus the same, and trying to get product has been
a bitch.
I mean, it's been a freaking nightmare.
But here's the thing: we have 52,000 hotels, according to Chef Victor, the interview I just did 2 days ago, or yesterday, 2 days ago. Chef Victor said that we have 52,000 hotels. They're closed. Comparing that to like the subways, whatever the amount of subways we have, nowhere near the amount of Chinese restaurants we have in the United States. There's about 47,000 Chinese restaurants registered in the United States as a whole, as a gambit. Mm-hmm. Now they get chicken, beef, pork. So let's take the whole thing about the coronavirus out of the equation, because it does not mean Chinese virus, you pieces of shit, to think that means it.
I know. Yeah.
The bottom line is that you have, let's say the government says, switch is done, we're now going to open up all the restaurants. So you have 52,000 hotels and 47,000 Chinese restaurants opening up tomorrow. Do you think we, the suppliers, can fulfill that demand to get them open? No, it's literally impossible. So if you think, if everyone listening right now is watching, they thought that toilet paper and hand sanitizer and sanitizing wipes was difficult to find, what do you think it's going to be to find when you have Corona hit a Smithfield plant, and now you have a Tyson plant that's been hit with 100 cases of Corona? Mm-hmm. What's the trickle down, the butterfly effect of the coronavirus and the economics of our side, of the suppliers? What do you think that might be?
Well, just basic the economics. I mean, if the supply goes down and then demand dramatically, the supply is shit. The demand, everything reopens, the demand goes up dramatically. That's a recipe for disaster.
Shit show.
Yeah, it's a shit show. That's just it. That's what, when you have supply and demand out of whack, that's what leads to a economic collapse again.
There's no really good feasible answer, and one of my really phenomenal friends just chimed in, Reagan. She's like, everything will. She's like, be harder and harder to locate. Pricing will be only increased, and I really truly agree. And she's a broker, and she really knows. She's got the pulse of what's going on. And there's no legitimate answer of what is or what will be. It's just one of those things. We're fucked. And we don't realize, as the American population, I'm not trying to be one of these guys that are really trying to sound off and be a...
Debbie Downer?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm trying to be a realist.
No, I know.
I'm trying to shoot the shit straight. The bottom line is...
No, I know.
If you thought it was hard to find toilet paper and other things, wait until the restaurants reopen. You're having a really the industry finally caught up as far as retail is concerned. The flour industry and yeast has not caught up yet, because those things need to grow. But when you have all these
Right.
dipshits dumping milk and plowing in vegetables and, you know, whatever else is being killed off, you know why that's being done? It's because corporate greed. They want to go up and say,
Yep.
it's easier for me to kill my cattle. It's easier for me to do whatever for my produce so that I can go to Uncle Sam and go, I lost this much. Please send me have some more.
Right.
And that's really disconcerting because inevitably we as chefs could have fed so many of our community.
Oh, I know. Please. And you were talking before and kind of loops back around to where we get our palates from. And I'm thinking of the way I was raised by people who had grown up in the Depression, and we didn't throw out shit. And all of a sudden, like, it's like legit. Like, I remember my grandmother's, tins of bacon fat under the sink. And, I use cauliflower leaves. I never throw out parsnip peelings because I frizzle them, I fry them and top them with shit. It's like, I it's kind of a good effect. I mean, we're talking about a really heavy topic, but one of the best things is it's made me really creative. I've had to get really creative. But like, there's no food waste in my kitchen right now because I can't even find it. I think I had to I had a kale nightmare. I mean, can you imagine now in this day and age not being able to find kale anymore?
Well, Reagan is really blasting off some
It.
stuff. She's saying it's the unknown. I mean, when farmers realized the contracts on fresh produce went into smoke, it really led us to less being grown. We need to fix the logistics between the source and the end user. And what's really good about my state, Florida, right now is they actually put out their floridagrowers.com. It links the consumer so they can buy from farms. Mecca Farms is doing an incredible $10 for a mixed vegetable produce. And
That's what I'm doing.
yeah, and
I mean, not me personally.
right,
Yeah.
it's huge when it comes to being the farmers. And soon the tomatoes will be up in your neck of the woods. She also concluded with the fresh produce will become a delicacy. And I agree with her. Fresh produce will become a delicacy because, what it's not like, and I know she works for this company, she brokers this company. There's a certain sweet street company that does dessert, and they can shut off the assembly line and they can stop the desserts. They can, bury bagels. They can shut off the line, and the line doesn't produce anymore. The problem is when you have the produce that can actually be grown, we can't stop those from being grown. What do we do? And I think what this pandemic has actually taught us is in the future, how do we get with, and this is shame on the American Culinary Federation among other chefs, is how do we embrace the chefs to say, what can we do with that product over there, or over there, or over there, to utilize that product to the utmost. And Dan Barber's phenomenal with food waste, but we never talked about it in a pandemic state. And now I think the topic needs to shift to that. It has to come to that what if situation. It's not about the dehydrated meal ready to eat, the MREs. It's how do we use our produce today to the functionality it's meant for, to save the natural resources that we have, that we did, to the farmer, to the whatever we put into growing it, the time.
Yeah. No, it's scary. Yeah, we've been using locally in New Jersey. I know most people think it has a bad rap, but we have so many farms. I mean, it's amazing. So we have like local produce places I've used before that are doing home deliveries. So thank God for them right now. But it's a Harvest Drop. They're amazing. And one that does all New Jersey farms as well. And it's called Zone 7. They're also amazing. I just wanted to shout them out because they were kind of boutique-y, or especially Zone 7 was a little boutique-y, and now it's become like literal lifeblood. Like if it wasn't for their boxes of produce and like you said, literally using all of it. I had promised sauteed greens. They got sauteed cauliflower greens. They were delicious. Like I'm trying to think outside the box and how to maximize what I have. and it's we're gonna have some good stories to tell after this is over. I just hope we figure out a way to survive. I mean, it's really worrisome.
Well, and I think and I always thought when I went there, when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life, I always thought that the culinary field would have been recession proof, and here I sit 3.5, almost 4 weeks into being furloughed, being unemployed, not having money, income coming in, and you look at it and go, geez, the only two that are really sustainable would be your medical and your teachers, which is quite amazing. And
Yep.
what I do to keep my head above water and not getting into that pitfalls is I'm lucky enough because I had a salesperson call me today and they're like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, I get to watch my daughter go to school. I get to be my daughter's sub or to tutor my daughter or just to sit back in awe of my daughter. So I look at that as a blessing for what.
Absolute amazing,
Right,
right?
right. And you have to look at that because if we don't, I don't sleep well. I won't sleep well until I get my first unemployment check. So I know I'm part of that skid, just like you had said earlier. In Florida, it's detrimental. And I was up from 12:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the morning trying to apply for just to claim my weeks, let alone,
And you know what happened to me last year is I had to use my unemployment benefits for a short time. So if I hadn't had this kind of like accidental backup plan, I'm maxed. I'm tapped out for I wouldn't get any.
Right, and that's the key, and that's the thing. It's like, Florida is the 47th state in the union that actually only gives $250 a week there for employee unemployment, right, insurance. But they upped it to 600, and we're like, oh my God, that's a bonus. I'm still losing $750 out of a paycheck.
I know.
And that's some big money. And when you think of it, I posted earlier, and I don't know if you saw it. It was like the golem, from Lord of the Rings, holding his precious and looking at his precious, and that
No, I
precious,
didn't say it.
that precious is my bank account.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never thought in a million years. And you look at my dad's mom; she's part of the Great Depression. You look at what they did and how they turned money out. If they were still alive, they would be able to function with this no problem.
Like that, I know.
Right? Because
I know you're
they've
right.
never they've done it. They lived
They've
it.
done it.
There's rationing.
You know what? I think of my you may have seen some of the posts I have about my grandmother. I think about her because I mean we've all have these horror stories in our own ancestries of things people have lived through, right? But my grandmother I post about, she's just my role model, and I keep her alive in my house with my kids because I want them to know that this woman, what this woman did, you are capable of anything. She was uneducated. She married an American soldier. She had my mother, and she was pregnant, 3 months pregnant with my uncle, and her husband was killed. She was 23 years old. She went to work in a factory, and she went to work every day for 50 years. From when she was 23 to 73. She died at 75, and she took a bus. She didn't even drive. And she raised my mom and my uncle. And, her granddaughter became a doctor and a chef. And it's I think this woman was alone, literally alone in a country that wasn't hers, with no education, with 2 children, and she was a widow at 23. And she actually taught me to drive. The first car she ever bought for herself, when she was 53 years old, she bought a 65 convertible 5-speed Mustang. And what a fucking badass car, right? And she bought driving gloves, and she gave them to me and taught me how to drive a stick shift. Who learns how to drive a stick shift on a 65 Classic Mustang?
I didn't do it on a 65, but I learned how to drive
High
stick.
five, right?
Right.
And I keep her, like, her spirit alive. Like, Jesus, if she could get through that, and that was in 1940 or 41, you know, I can get through this. I got to remember that. I wish she was here.
We all have to remember that, because
Yeah.
the perseverance of the American ideology, right? Not forget about political party, forget about Democrat, forget about Republican, forget about who's in office right now. Let's take out that out of the mix, because, and we're going to be serious for a second, really, really deep and philosophical. It's about the American people. It's about for the people, by the people, and that's what we the people have to remember. Inevitably, it's the middle class that makes this country the greatest country. It's not the 1%ers.
Absolutely.
It's and it's also the lower class. It's the people that are making $26,000, $28,000, $30,000 a year. You know, one of the things we had a conversation about today, out of my happy hour, was, you know, one of the neighbors was like, well, some of these people are making more money on their unemployment than they would if they were working.
Wait, somebody said that?
Yeah, and I said, well, wait a minute.
Oh my God, I would punch them.
Well, I said, time out. That's the government's fault. Because what should have been was the declining scale. You should be paid 80% of whatever salary you're making for 30 days, and then go from 30 to 60 to 90, whatever, to get you to work, right? Whatever it is.
Right.
Now, COVID's different. So, completely different lifeline. I'm still losing $750 every paycheck I'm going to make over COVID right off the bat. I'm just throw $750. So, everybody listening, take $750 and go, fuck it. Because
and just throw it away.
Just throw it away.
Fuck it, I don't need it.
I don't need it, because that's literally what I'm losing every paycheck.
That's insane. Yeah, right.
So, to put things in perspective, you know, people are like, how are you doing? I'm like, I pay less in taxes.
Yeah.
Come 2021, when I go ahead and file my taxes, guess what? I'm X amount of dollars in taxes lost. So I don't have that loss. I don't have what I was making, the potential to what I am making. You know, thank God that the mortgage and my car loan are going, hey, we understand.
Right.
If they weren't, that'd be a totally different story.
Yeah, and mine, and around here, not so much.
Then
crazy.
And that's pretty much dickish.
It's like, I mean, in the area I live in, I live about 15 miles from Manhattan, so a 1-bedroom apartment is about $2,000 a month, in New Jersey. So, I know people.
You need to move to Florida.
I know people who've already been evicted, like within the last 6
Well,
months.
no, part of the CARE Act is now there's protection from that now.
Yeah, but before that,
no, right.
Like, I know I have a friend, I mean, it's just a story, but 5 days late, past he had a 5-day grace period, went 5 days past that, eviction notice on the door. 10 days after living there 8 years. One of my, culinary friends. It's just, it's tragic.
And, you know, my biggest problem, and we're kind of going to end with this, and I'll kind of wrap things up with what your last kind of thoughts are. My thoughts are, God forbid, the suicide rate increases because of it.
Oh, God. You know, I got to tell you, I've been there too, mentally. And it's such a dark place, right? I mean, I don't mean to be too heavy, but for people who ever criticize, like, about that being cowardly, or this is just my shtick on this, okay? But I remember saying to somebody once, like, there is zero way for me to explain to you how much pain you have to be in to even consider it. Like, to lose absolutely all hope, all perspective that there's going to be something to wake up for tomorrow. And so, and I've been in that dark place because of finances before, because of a divorce, because of things that I just thought they were so broken I was never going to be able to fix them. And you get into this like cycle of thinking, oh, maybe they'll be better off. If like I don't know how that happens, but I've been there, and it's a horrible place to crawl out of, and I'm scared for the people who don't have.
Do you think also
You
that the reason that it's such a hard place to crawl out of is because of what the society dictates mental health is?
Well, I think there's a stigma and a shame attached to it.
Right.
Just like
If I mention I want to, if I'm there's this persona or this thing about, and I talk about it all the time. We talked about it with Alan Madick about 2 weeks ago. We have this thing about suicide that stipulates when we think about it, we're weak, and that it's not known, or and you coming from the medical field, it's just one of those things we can see differently. It's fucked up.
Yeah. And I can tell you, even in can you still hear me?
Yep, I can see. Yep.
Okay. Even in medical training, it was stigmatized. I mean, just having gone through it, I can, the training when I did my own psychiatry training in medical school, it was also stigmatized.
So as a society, especially what we're going through now with COVID, and having chefs, we don't like reaching out. We're the ones.
No.
We're the ones that are giving. We're the ones the first to go and say,
shit together.
Right.
I mean, we work in high pressure situations, and we can, you always have to have your shit together. And how are we all going to admit to each other? Guess what? I don't have my shit together anymore right now.
I can't pay my electric. I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my car. I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay for the food for my kids. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Or the fact of the matter is, I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah.
I've always been the one that's been doing 3 jobs. The Jamaican. I've had 3 jobs, man. I've been doing this, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now all of a sudden there's none.
Right.
How
much of a period of like there's some people who can't be alone with themselves too. Right? And this is a lot of downtime.
Or they can't be alone with the family dynamic they're around with either.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I mean, I actually survived a very domestic relationship a long time ago. I can't imagine if I had to be with that person for, no way out for a long time.
So Reagan just actually added, she's like, lots of people don't have their shit together. ESP now, just know it's okay. So one of the things I've always stipulated with things is that if it's okay to be not okay.
Right, yeah, me too.
If you're not okay, get some help. Dial 211. If you need, it's not just for suicide.
Yeah.
It's not just for suicide.
It's an incredible resource. I broke my leg a few years ago, and I reached out. I used everything 211 had to offer. I really did, and that was one of the dark times when I didn't know, like, how am I going to get literally back on my feet? And thank God for that. I mean, they got us at that time. I was able to get like the New Jersey family care for my kids, like just all the shit that my mom didn't provide for me. They actually did. It was a little bit, difficult with the bureaucracy and the paperwork, but they cared. They actually gave a shit.
But not only the bureaucracy that goes along with the government shit that goes along with it, it's quite frankly, it's the ego. It's how we as chefs consider ourselves, I need help. And that's the stigmatism about us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my chef buddies, Facebook friends, just posted yesterday. I saved it. I wish I could look at it right now, but it was something about, like, it's okay not to, like, be I actually reposted it. I think it was like Gwyneth Paltrow saying she was going to learn Mandarin and I don't know how to crochet and I don't know, fucking build a room in her apartment or something. I don't know. Where she was going to have this list of shit that she was going to accomplish. And it was something like, it's okay not to, Not to be your most productive during a pandemic. It's okay to spend the day pulling chip crumbs out of your bra. I mean, I know you. You don't have any.
No, there's bacon down there.
The point was that it gave like I didn't have to challenge myself for self improvement every day. I mean, honestly, there's some days I just lay. I don't even get out of my pajamas. I lay on the couch. Some days I cook all day, and some days I go for a run.
Well, no, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, you and I are sitting here right now. We're not wearing bottoms, so it's okay.
We talked about that.
I want to wrap this up because we're almost going on the 2-hour thing. Is there anything else you want to say that you could say right now for us?
Oh, on what topic? Let's see.
Anything you want. Anything.
Anything I want. I want every female chef out there not to take any shit. You will empower yourself more than you can possibly fucking imagine. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. If I could like somehow impart that knowledge to every young woman there is in the world, I would. It's once you start taking shit that you get used to it and you lose your power. So take your power now, however old you are. That's one thing. The second thing is, I think if we all stick together like this, we're going to be okay. I honestly, what's the word? The time, this is to me, I'm trying to look at this as a blessing in disguise that like you talked about. My kids are home from college. I get to actually see them. I get to go for a run every day. I get to, exercise anyway every day. I get to, read the books, watch the show, I'm like doing a little self-care. So I'm trying to take advantage of it. I'm in a little bit of a different financial, like if I was worried about finances 24/7, I wouldn't be enjoying any shows on TV. I mean, I've been there where I'm scraping shit off the bottom of the car to pay for a toll, off the rug. So I get it. And I know that panic and that awful feeling. And self-improvement's not on the top of your fucking list when you're going to get your water turned off. So like, I know that's not going to happen now because they stopped doing that, but I know that sheer panic and not being able to sleep and hating to open the mail, like that just that dread, that shitty feeling of dread. So for everybody else out there who's feeling it, man, you're not alone. And it's okay to say we need each other.
And that's the whole piece of this, right?
Definitely.
If you have problems, if you're thinking of certain situations, 201 is a great resource, as you heard Chef say. This is the time to reinvent yourselves. Not only to reinvent yourselves, to spend the time to look at your family and spend time with your family. Even though I'm not right now.
No, but you and I never gotten to do anything like
no,
this.
This
is great.
Yeah, this has absolutely been fantastic. So Stephanie Chef Charms is a fantastic individual. I'd love her to get on one of these shows too. Wink, wink. She says, thank you, Chef. Yes, all female chefs shouldn't accept crap for anyone. Well said. Let's all grab a cookie or a cocktail, sorry. Grab a cocktail, and when the world reopens again, get shit-faced. So,
you know what? I am looking forward to the after party because I don't think I quite would have believed it for the pre-party.
No, this pre-party, I'm very well. My liver is very well pickled. I cannot wait until I, not pickle my liver and have some fun. Chef, you're an amazing individual. I thank you tremendously grabbing on to the TV. There it is, Chrissy's cookbook. Definitely clean cooking. Definitely hit me up if you ever want to find out how to get in touch with Chef Chrissy. Hit me up on the feed. Hit me up on DM. I will put you in touch with Chef Chrissy. Grab her book. It's absolutely phenomenal. She's a great individual, as you can see. We had a lot of fun today. So Chef Charms just quickly chimed in. The after party includes a bus and a culinary tour.
Can we get strippers too?
Chef Charms, can you answer that question? So, Chef wants to know.
Both genders, any gender.
And her gender. Non-Chinese, non-Jewish.
Well, I'm out because my parents will disown me. So,
Okay, after this, I think my mom will disown me too.
well, actually, I'm more afraid of my children. So,
Yeah, well, right? And a poll. She wants a poll included.
a poll. You know what? After a few of my lemon martinis, I will use the poll.
There we go. We got our pole dancer. Chef, again, I really truly do appreciate everything you do and what you've been through and your
Thank you.
story and everything that you've come up to be as far as the presence of what a restaurant chef should be, especially no matter what gender they are.
Yeah.
I applaud what you've done. I can't
Thank
wait
you.
to hear more. I would love to do this again, especially cocktail hour. And
Yeah.
we can go from there. So thank you so much. Everyone, you have a wonderful night. I hope you enjoyed this late night edition of Table for Two, Bitch Please. So talk
Bitch,
to you guys later.
please.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Chef.
Bye, honey.
Bye.